My health is very, very good. Very well. Thank you. Doing well. Thanks for asking.
Hi, good evening. Just want to call the meeting to order for the Oxnard Finance and Governance Committee for September 23rd, 2025. Madam Clerk, may we have the roll call and posting of the agenda, please? And we'll follow with the Pledge of Allegiance. Sorry, Madam Clerk.
Sorry about that. Committee Member Rodriguez,
Present.
Committee Member Starr,
Here.
Chair MacArthur.
Here.
The agenda for the meeting was posted in the kiosk at City Hall, the Oxnard Public Library, the city administrative offices, and on the city's website on Tuesday, September 16th. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can have everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can just repeat after me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We'll move to the first item on the agenda. This is items not on the agenda and non-action items. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Anyone wishing to speak on items not on the agenda and non-action items can come forward and fill out a speaker card, or if you're joining us virtually, please press *9 and raise your hand, and we'll call on you. The first person is Jim. Come on up, Jim. Thank you for being here.
All right, thank you. Good evening. I wanted to talk about this earlier, but you guys haven't met in a while. But I remember earlier this month, Mr. Molina sent out a schedule of all the city's debt that was issued since Mr. Nguyen and his team took charge of the city. And I looked at it, and the first one I noticed was the one that we discussed, or you guys discussed a few weeks ago, the refunding bonds. I think it was wastewater. So as far as I understand it, that was a simple transaction. All the remaining debt is going to be refinanced dollar for dollar. So he put it down as a $50 million debt, but it's not. There's no new debt. The net is zero. So that's what he missed in his analysis. There's no new debt. It's like refinancing a house. You're taking your old debt, extinguishing it, and adding the same debt. So there's a net effect of zero. Then I went through the rest of that list. There's 13 items. I didn't go through every item. But a lot of other ones are refunding bonds too. And I remember in the late teens, there was a lot of refunding activity in the city, water bonds, anything the city can do. And I remember they were like the variable rate demand bonds that were costing the city. The city refinanced all of those. I looked it up in the 2024 CAFRA just before I got here, and it was present value savings, or they call it economic gain, of probably between, of the ones I looked at, about half a dozen, between 15 and 20 million dollars. So the city saved 15 to 20 million dollars by just looking at the ones I looked at. So that's savings to the taxpayer. So in Mr. Molina's wish to, make a point, he did the exact opposite. The city actually looks good in it. Actually, the city could be putting out this and, doing their own analysis, because they were very aggressive in trying to save the taxpayer money. And that's what the one you're talking about doing now is going to save, not much, but $200,000 or $300,000 a year for 10 years. That's real money, So this was a good thing. This was a good thing that the city did. This should be applauded, not condemned. It's nothing that our children have to worry about or anything like. Everybody says that your children, grandchildren have to pay. No, these are mostly refinancing old debt for new debt, saving the city money. So he picked the wrong thing to talk about. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments, Jim. Thank you. Madam Clerk, is there anybody joining us virtually?
Chair MacArthur and committee members, we do not have any additional speakers in person or virtually for items not on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Given that there are no further speakers, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The only item I see here is the approval of the minutes for the July 22nd and September 9th, 2025 Finance and Governance Committee meeting. Any members have any questions or comments? If not, what's the pleasure of this committee on this item?
I'll move to approve the minutes. I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers on this item?
Chair MacArthur and committee members, we do not have any public speakers on the information and consent agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Call for the vote.
Committee member Starr,
Yes.
committee member Rodriguez,
Aye.
Chair MacArthur,
Yes.
and this motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to item D1. This is from the IT Department. Subject entails purchasing authorizations from CompuWave, Inc. The recommendation is that the Finance and Governance Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute a 2-year blanket agreement with CompuWave in the amount of $1.2 million for the purchase of computer hardware and related services. And Mr. Robert Rubin, Chief Information Officer, is here to answer any questions from this committee. Before committee member discussion, Madam Clerk, are there any speakers on this item?
Chair MacArthur and committee members, we do not have any public speakers in person or virtually for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from?
Sure. I just want to say, as usual, your reports are very good.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for this. I was wondering if you could kind of elaborate on how we choose the period of time to replace old equipment. Why do we do it in 5 years instead of 3 or 7? I was just wondering if you can kind of give us some insight on
Sure.
that decision process.
Yeah, good evening, committee members, Mr. Mayor. Rob Rubin, CIO for City of Oxnard. So there's industry standards around refresh for technology. For PCs, it tends, the industry standard range is 3 to 5 years. On servers and high-end workstations, it can be between 5 and 7 years. We chose a more conservative, so on PCs, instead of toward the 3-year range, more toward the 5-year range, just to be more fiscally conservative, but still within the range of ensuring that, number one, that the equipment is functioning properly for its use. And number two, that it doesn't create cybersecurity vulnerabilities by having outdated or unsupported hardware in those cases. So thank you for the question. I'd like to elaborate one other thing, a little bit unrelated, but to explain that I'm bringing 2 different things tonight. They're very related. One doesn't have to be renewed right now, but we're doing it right now, because if I were in your shoes, I'd want to know the whole hardware picture and not just part of it now and in 6 months come back for another half of it and you wonder, didn't we already do that and what's different? So the two different agreements we have, CompuWave, we buy all of our PCs, our desktop and laptops PCs, workstations and servers. And then and this is general, but printers and some other equipment as well. But in general, it's that and a little bit of software too. From Insight, we buy most of our networking equipment and some of the network service agreements for that equipment. So there is some software and services in there as well, but in general, the big ticket dollars are on the networking side, the firewalls, the switches, the routers, that kind of thing. Whereas on the CompuWave, it's more computers, PCs, desktops, and back-end servers. So I wanted to show you both sides of it at once, so you get the whole picture, or as much of that as possible. So you, again, I just want that clarity, because I know if I were in your shoes, I would want it.
And I appreciate that. I know when I read through both reports, I had to go back and like, well, is this, trying to differentiate between the two. And so I appreciate that clarity. I did see that some is for the hardware, the first one, and then the second one more for the networking part of it. So I appreciate you clarifying that on the front end. So thank you for that. Go ahead.
So just because you brought up the timeline, does that mean that the approval happens now, but the changes wouldn't actually be, because the timeline I thought just went hand in hand naturally? But are you asking for earlier approval, or, I know it's for our sake, but, and I appreciate it.
Sorry for the confusion. Yeah, we're extending the contract.
Yeah, till
So
2028.
so the action is now, and we're just gonna, instead of waiting till April to do,
So don't wait
Insight,
until the
we're
expiration.
we're just extending it and adding the additional funds in now.
Yeah, it did look like it naturally went hand in hand together, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Correct. Now, some of the contract term dates are determined really on the piggyback agreements, because we can't have a contract that the city takes on that exceeds the end date of the piggyback that we're on. So that's another reason why some of those dates might be a little different, is that it depends on what piggyback agreement that we're going on.
Thank you for that. What's the pleasure of committee? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just kind of go. I want to thank you, first of all, for educating me on something I didn't know about. I didn't realize that the hardware would also have security vulnerabilities. I'm used to software being updated all the time, because some really crooked people out there figure out how to navigate their way around it. But I didn't realize that hardware was an area of vulnerability as well. I was wondering if you could tell me more about that.
Yeah, certainly. So the hardware, for example, if it's running firmware, so if you look at a server and desktops, those are going to have firmware on them that occasionally need to be upgraded. And when that equipment becomes out of support by the manufacturer, they don't issue the firmware upgrades in the same way that a software manufacturer doesn't upgrade the software. When you get into firewalls, the software and the hardware are they're basically, we buy it together. So unlike a server where you might buy a Dell server and run Windows operating system, so you're buying two separate products and have to keep them current, the firewalls are typically one product with two line items: the original purchase price of the equipment and the maintenance to keep that equipment should it break or need firmware. But then the software side of it is also very, very resource intensive in terms of money, because the vendor is constantly on a firewall, especially. That's our number one defense, right, is to protect from the externals. So that's where you're getting constant updates from Cisco, or depending on the firewall manufacturer. But so the hardware piece more on the firmware side, and yeah, you could get into, if you get something really old, maybe they don't even make parts for it anymore, but the 5 to 7 year range is not where you would typically find a reliable manufacturer doing that.
Is it just the computers themselves that have these vulnerabilities, or does it also extend to like accessory devices like printers and that sort of thing?
Yeah, what's interesting is printers, we don't see that too often, but cameras we do. So security cameras at times surveillance cameras can also have a vulnerability. Anything with an IP address is potentially vulnerable. So depending on the type of printer, it could be a network printer, that could also have some. But the things that we see typically are really on the network equipment, the servers, the computers, the PCs, the desktops, laptops, and the surveillance cameras. So you wouldn't think of a little camera as an opportunity to get in, but actually those have some risk too.
And I did notice, and you've educated me on this earlier today or yesterday, that we don't actually have written agreements per se. These are really just purchase orders, and we're just extending these existing purchase orders, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because I was looking there, I'm going, well, where's the agreement?
Where's the
I'm
contract?
looking for the agreement to review.
Yep.
But anyway, I have no other questions. Great report as always.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your report. It was very clear. Thank you for that. What's the pleasure of this committee on this item?
I move the recommended action.
I'll second.
Thank you. Call for the vote, Madam Clerk.
Committee Member Rodriguez,
Aye.
Committee Member Starr,
Yes.
Mayor MacArthur,
Yes,
and this motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Good
Thank you. And we'll go into the second item. This is item D2, also from the IT department. I know you just talked about it
It's
just now.
okay.
I'm
Let's-
sorry.
If there are any further questions
Mr.
on that
Rubin.
one, sorry to leave so
No,
quickly.
no problem. This is the purchasing authorization from Insight Public Sector, Inc. The recommended action is that the Finance and Governance Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to extend a blanket agreement with Insight Public Sector, Inc. for the purchase of computer networking technology through April 30th, 2028, and increase the funding amount by $1.4 million for a new total not to exceed amount of $4,035,000. Mr. Rubin is here, our CIO. Any public speakers on this item, Madam Clerk?
And Mayor and committee members, we do not have any public speakers in person or virtually for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Any committee member want further insight from Ms. Rubin on this particular? I know he spoke a little bit about it earlier.
I think you did a great job addressing both issues. So
I
thank
tried
you.
to do a 2-for-1 deal, yeah.
You're awesome. Thank you.
You had a real deep agenda tonight. I'm the only one on it, so.
I move the recommended action.
And I'll second.
Madam Clerk, call for the vote.
Committee Member Starr,
Yes.
Committee Member, Committee Member Rodriguez.
Aye.
Chair MacArthur.
Yes,
And this motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rubin. Unless a member has an item for future agenda. Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Starr.
A couple items I'd like staff to look into. One of our fellow council members took a video of some food vendors, one of them being on the corner of near the Rose Shopping Center near Rose and Gonzalez. And he's concerned, and I think many of us are concerned about the blocking of the sidewalks. We know that under state law that that activity has been decriminalized for the most part, and it's very difficult to enforce against violations, including those that affect health and safety. But one idea I think that we could look at is this: since this law only applies to such activity on public property, is there, I know this particular street, this sidewalk, nobody walks on that sidewalk. It's just a commercial area. I'm wondering, is it possible perhaps to vacate ownership of the sidewalk to the Rose Shopping Center, and then, provided that we have an easement where pedestrian traffic could continue, once it's private property, then if someone's doing this activity, then we can treat them like any other trespasser. So I'm wondering if that's something that we could explore.
So that wouldn't make a difference, because if we reserve the easement for public access, it remains a public right-of-way, and the law doesn't pertain to publicly owned property. It pertains to public rights-of-way.
So if we didn't have the easement, I mean, it's unlikely that the shopping center would say, we're not going to allow anybody on the sidewalk. Would that be an approach? Where in that case, it would just be literally be private property.
Well, I don't know. Not sure what the configuration of this sidewalk is, but if it's within a private property, then it seems similar to the item the council heard recently about the privatization of parking facilities. So the owner would have more control over that if it's
Right.
not a public right-of-way.
Exactly. Well, it's something I wonder if perhaps we could look into. My second item I'd like to look at is, we have a barking dog ordinance that requires that we have at least 2 households basically file a complaint of noise. And what my understanding is, and I looked at a few other cities, I didn't find any other cities where their ordinance required 2 complainers. And I'm wondering if we could revisit this very old ordinance, I think we adopted it in the 60s, and see if we can change that to just 1 complainer. Many other violations out there don't require complaints from multiple households. I'm just thinking that maybe we can look at this and see if we can do it based on 1 household like other jurisdictions do.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't have any items.
Okay,
So one reminder, however, is that with both of these items, any referral to committee would go to most likely a different committee, the one relating to public safety and community regulatory issues. And so likely not F and
this
B.
committee, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Starr. Good suggestions. Okay. Okay, well, if there's no further business on the agenda, without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.